you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Attention, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our invocation by Calvin Ford.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this bright sunshine, and thank you for everyone who's here. Father, we thank you for your many blessings you give us and many blessings you give our staff and teachers. Father, I ask you to continue to bless us and keep us and continue to let us go out strong. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jimmy. And Charles will read the mission.
The mission of Gatesville ISD, a portal to limited possibilities, is to empower our students to be life-ready knowledge seekers and problem solvers by instilling leadership, innovation, integrity, critical thinking, and service through challenging and engaging learning experiences facilitated by passionate teachers and supported by caring parents and community members.
Thank you. We do have some folks with public comment, so I will read this. The board encourages comments about the district from members of the public. Anyone who has signed up to speak in advance of the meeting in accordance with the board procedures may do so at this time. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to district business and be no longer than 5 minutes. For any member of the public who is accompanied by a translator, your time will be doubled as required by law. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. In addition, the board has adopted policies to provide prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns for employees, students, or their parents, and the general public. Copies of our district policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available at the Gatesville Independent School District Administration Office, 311 South Lovers Lane, Gatesville, Texas. Thank you. Now we will vote on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Marianne, if you go
Oh,
back.
I'm sorry.
There's an additional.
Right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So,
I thought we were waiting for...
Mr. Collins is here. He's going to speak when the topic comes up.
Mhm.
But then we have Mr. Coward is here, and his topic isn't on, so we'll let him speak right now.
Okay. I'm
Come
sorry,
on,
Mr.
appreciate it.
Howard. Come on up.
I missed the last meeting, I guess, and I was like to know why we're still wearing the mask. You know, why can't we do away with them? That's my question.
Well, we,
It's not on the agenda,
yeah, it's on the agenda. We, at the last meeting, Jeff, we talked about it. And the main reason was worried about the contact tracing. So the kids have all the good activities coming up, like prom and graduation, all those sorts of things. What we've noticed is that one kid, if they get sick, if they're around a bunch of other kids, but they got the mask on, we don't have to quarantine them. So it's basically, it's an effort to try to keep the kids in class, going to all the stuff, the fun events, the big end of year awards, those sorts of things.
Is it a law? I mean, why do we don't have to wear them, so, I mean, why don't we, half of them don't wear them anyway. I watch them around here.
Yeah.
What are y'all scared of? I mean,
No, we're, the governor said that we can,
we don't have
keep
to wear
it-
them.
Right, and, or you could keep it going if you wanted. So what the board said was that probably come the May meeting, that we're likely gonna nix them for summer school on. And so we're just trying to get through the big events so they don't miss out.
Well, I don't feel like they should wear them or have to wear them, so that's giving you my 2 cents.
Duly noted.
Okay.
I don't know what y'all are scared of, or it's time to quit figuring.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We're trying to keep everybody healthy, and we've been, I'll give an update here in a minute. We've got 0 cases right now, so we're doing good. And the main thing, though, is we just didn't want it to pop up and the kids to miss all these big things that they've been looking forward to. So.
Well, I think you should think about it,
We
quit
will.
being scared of everything.
I think we said at the last meeting, it's very, very, very likely that come right after graduation, summer school, summer athletic camps, from then on, it'll be optional. So
Okay.
they can bear with us. We appreciate it, Mr. Coward.
Thank
Good
you.
seeing you.
Thank you. Is that it?
I think that was everybody until Mr.
Anybody
Collins
else?
at the point in time, so.
Okay, all right, then we will go, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Charles? And Charlie? Okay, motion's been made. Are there any questions about the consent agenda before we vote? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed, thank you. Okay, information items.
Okay, we're already at information. So Mr. Frazier
Frazier?
is up with Medicaid settle-up payments.
Good evening, board. Everyone okay? All right, so this report here has to do with the SHARS, Medicaid cost reimbursement that we've been doing for quite a number of years. And we just completed the cost report for the 2020 fiscal year, which for SHARS purposes in September the 30th of 2020. And we have an expected settle-up payment of $475,520 that would be due to the school district approximately February-ish of 2022. We just received our settlement for the prior year of over $500,000, and that just came in within the past month. This particular settlement for year 20, combined with the interim reimbursements that we have received throughout the year, total $734,848 for 2020. And we feel like this is probably the new normal in terms of what we're going to be expecting out of the SHARS program on an annual basis. In your board report, I've included a chart dating back to the first school year, which is 2013-2014, when we began the SHARS reimbursement program. And it gives you a synopsis of each of the fiscal years, the interim payments that we received throughout the year, the final settlement. And you got to remember that the final settlement is usually about 2 years delay between the time of the fiscal year and the time of receipt. The items in yellow on that chart, there at the bottom, the last 2 rows, are basically estimates that we've made. But you can see there, particularly right here, that we're projecting in the 700 to 750 range in terms of our new normal to expect for Medicaid reimbursements. I've also, at the top, given you an overview of the SHARS program. This is going to be great for the new board members who may not be totally familiar with this program. So this is a little background showing you how that we began this while the school district was under the Heart of Texas Co-op out of McGregor ISD. And it was initially serviced by TASB, and then we later moved to MSB Consulting, and then starting this year in 2021, we have elected to go with Onward Learning as our service provider on handling Medicaid reimbursements. And then I've given you a little background here on these couple paragraphs, because there was a period of time when the 2018 cost report was disputed, and it was about $150,000 roughly that we disputed, and we finally did settle right here in August of 2020 for almost $150,000 that we received. And of course, that money was, for a while, it was tied up, and we didn't know what the end result was going to be. So we ended up pretty favorably that year, you know, when it was all said and done. Now, of course, when COVID hit a year ago, you know, that was one of our concerns, was how is this going to impact our SHARS reimbursement? Because it looked like it might be significantly impacted. But as it turned out, it looks like we're going to be in that 700,000 range for last year anyway. And so the district actually kind of came out in good shape in spite of the COVID pandemic that hit us. So if you have, especially some of the new guys here, if you have some questions about this program and how it works, I'll be glad to sit down with you and go over it, because it is kind of a complicated program, but there's a lot of money involved. And like I say, now the school district's probably going to be getting roughly 700,000 so each year from charge reimbursement. And this is mostly, these are sped students who are qualified for Medicaid. And so their services can be reimbursed through the Medicaid program, services that we render on their behalf. So that's the report on the 2020. Any questions? Information only right here?
Yeah, information.
Thank you. Summer feeding program?
You're still up, Daryl.
Whether you like it or not. All right, so the next item on the agenda is a disclosure to you as a board of the plans for our 2021 summer feeding program. The summer feeding program began actually a year after I started working here in the business office in June of 11. We started out with 5,000 meals that summer, and this past summer we were in excess of 28,000 meals. So that's a pretty significant growth from the time we first started this. And we tip our hats at Gail and her crew, who worked extremely hard through the summer. This coming summer schedule, which I think I've indicated here, is going to start on Monday the 24th of May and end on Wednesday the 11th of August, with only one holiday, that being Monday, May 31st. All the other days they're going to be serving. They're going to be preparing and delivering the meals from the elementary campus, so we're only going to be working out of one campus this year. But they'll be delivering meals to various summer camps, Boys and Girls Club, Trinity Baptist Jumpstart Program, and the WIC program, as well as the summer camps, any summer camps that exist around here, including the park and the pool. As I've indicated before, Tammy from primary, our food service man, our food cafeteria manager at the primary school, does a great job of locating any groups of kiddos in the summer and say, would you like to eat a lunch or a breakfast? And so our participation in the summer program is really exciting. We have, in some years, lost money, but it's now a moneymaker. And we just congratulate Gail and our cafeteria staff for the excellent job that they do in overseeing and pulling off these summer feeding programs each year.
And Gail's over there. You want to let us clap for you?
We have an excellent team. We have a lot of staff that work during the summer, and they enjoy it, and they do a great job. Boys and Girls Club, when I contacted them, they were excited to get back to as normal as possible and walking over to elementary and getting their meals. So we're looking forward to that. And we've done the Trinity School before. When Gentry was going out there, they were going to start their summer program, and they were seeing if Gentry would participate. And I said, yes, and we can do some meals for you for free. And that just kind of started that history with them, getting them fed. Those kids get used to seeing our meals, so when they come into kindergarten, they already know what to expect and start eating with us. So it's been a great program.
So you, the board, is the one that originally approved the summer feeding program, and the vision that you have as a board has really paid off in a big way. As quite an outreach to our community. So a lot of children in the Gatesville community are able to benefit from this program. So we congratulate you as well as a board for your continued support of the summer feeding program. Any questions? Okay.
A lot of
Next is
kids.
somebody else, right?
Yeah, a lot of kids wouldn't eat during the summer.
That's great.
And so we're thankful for those ladies going out there working.
Okay.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you.
School pictures.
School picture, so I've got a few information items. These will be fairly quick, just to kind of keep the board in the know. We've had a relationship with the Life Touch as our picture vendor for many years, quite a few years, and we've been having a few mistakes recently, and they've been less responsive to some of our requests. And so our campuses wanted to kind of start looking around for some other vendors. And so we've reached out to Heather Hitt, she's local, and we had a meeting with her, and she already services some of the smaller districts around here, and she does even some yearbooks. And so we tried to impress upon her, you know, the size of Gatesville ISD is bigger than what she's worked with so far, and we need multiple cameras going, things like that, but she was very much confident that she could do it. We wanted to get a 50% discount for our staff members on pictures for their kids. We wanted to get make sure that she had enough cameras, that there's a quick turnaround for those yearbooks that we have to get out, and also all the athletic pictures. It's a big deal. Picture taking is a big job, and so Heather was very confident, and so we feel like that soon we may transition from Life Touch to Heather Hitt Photography. We're not under really a contract per se with Life Touch. It's more of an agreement where they just take some of the profits from the pictures, and so we feel like there's nothing binding with them, but Heather seems to be meeting all the criteria that we'd want for a picture taker. So FYI, that may be coming soon. Local person. Any questions on that? Speaking of contracts, Dr. Pepper, the American Bottling Company, we entered into an agreement with them back in 2017 that was supposed to last through 2024. So we've gone a couple of years, and it gives them exclusive rights to sell Dr. Pepper in the vending machines and concessions and things like that. And so we had an amendment offered to us for extending it a few years, and in return they'd give us a $9,000 lump sum. And we needed some money here soon to start trying to get a new scoreboard for, I believe it's baseball. Softball. We've got baseball this year. Is that right?
No.
So we got softball this year. Softball's scoreboard was the one that we had to switch it during the summer because they no longer make the parts to fix it. And so that was, we had to take care of that. Baseball, we still have the parts to fix that for one more year. So we want to tackle that next. And so this money would help pay for that. We've got to sell a certain amount of volume, 1,700 cases a year. We already sell 2,500 cases a year. So we should be in good shape. But we've had a long, good relationship with Dr. Pepper. Pat Wright's their rep that we know well, and he works with us. So we wanted to extend it a little bit longer and get some money in return to help out our program. So any questions on that one?
Well, I talked to the athletic director. And this may be was just splitting words here. He told me that the baseball scoreboard was in the budget for next year. So
Yes.
that's this $9,000?
This will help towards it.
Okay.
Yeah. Ricky was already allocating because it's one of those things where it's got to get done one way or the other. Because like softball, it's getting so old and decrepit that if we don't fix it pretty soon, it's going to get to where you can't find the bulbs and the parts to fix it.
Yeah.
Softball was really truly to where we were going to have to, Jimmy, you were going to have to hold up the score on a piece of paper
Well,
because.
If I got any more complaints on the baseball scoreboard, I was going to do that over there.
Yeah. So the other thing that we have in the works for baseball, we are haggling with the portable people. I'll go ahead and let them know what we've been working on. This is a long shot, but we have a gang restroom. It's really nice. Portables out in our portable city for the high school. We're trying to haggle with the portable company to see if we could keep those and move it over to the baseball complex because there's basically no bathrooms. There's a singleton for the men and a singleton for the women, and it's terrible. It's terrible. And you get big, you can see tonight, big crowds. They have to wait in a line to get in there, and so if it's not an exorbitant amount, we're trying to get them to leave that with us here, those restrooms, and move it over there to the baseball area. So we'll see. We'll see how good a negotiator we are.
Can we buy a bunch of extra baseball
Yeah.
parts for the scoreboard now?
That's right.
For future.
Yeah, that's right. Scoreboards are expensive.
Oh.
So that's Dr. Pepper, if y'all don't have any other questions.
Okay, so next is the COVID-related updates.
COVID in particular, we had one case since March 4th. We didn't have any cases, and then I shot my big mouth off, and then we got a case. Well, then that student recovered quickly. We're back down to 0, so we're doing really good on the COVID front. The big thing now that we're looking at, we had a big meeting today, is the kids who, whether they've been in person or remote, that just didn't do any work this year. Didn't do any schoolwork. Their averages are 0, 0, 5, 10, 0, 0. And it's one of those things where, you know, if your average is in the, like, maybe you've got a 60 or something, that's a good summer school candidate. But some of these kids did so little that there's no other way than just retention. And so we've been prepping you guys over these many months that it's not a big amount. I'd say there's around, on one hand at the primary, there's probably around 10 at elementary, maybe a little less. Intermediate around 10. Junior high is probably around 10 to 15. And then at high school, it's not so much the grade level you're in, but your credits. Like, did you get credit for world geography? Did you get credit for algebra 2? But looking at the seniors specifically, and we've been calling and pleading and begging, please do some work. Do some work so you can graduate. But there's at least 20 to 30 that will not walk in May. And so they have been forewarned. We begged them, home visits, counseling calls. But it was just too great a temptation with the remote learning to not do any work. And so we have often said it's not fair to the kids who have worked every day, got up, whether they got up at home and did work at home or got up and went to school and did work, at least you did some work. We want to make sure that we're not just saying, okay, you didn't do anything, you go on to the next grade level. And it's not to teach a lesson, it's because they won't be prepared. You know, if you don't learn how to read in first grade, how are you going to go to second? So it's a sad consequence of this tumultuous year for sure. Any questions about that? So hopefully, but the silver lining is some of them, a lot of them, if they'll go to summer school, they can get caught up because they're close and they'll go on to the next grade. So that's the saving grace, if they'll do it. If they'll do it. But see, that's, again, we've been begging already. We'll see if they'll maybe come to the conclusion they need to do it in the summer.
So the seniors they'll have time.
If some of the seniors can, if they'll take care of their business, they're in that group, could graduate in July. Now there's a few of them that are so, I don't know, they've done so little that we'll see. But I think
virtual learning will not be an option this next year.
remote learning is not an option. I sent out a letter to all campuses. We've been blasting that out. So forewarning. So if you're not wanting to do in-person learning, unfortunately, you'd have to unenroll and go to a different district. So we'd hate to lose people, but that's just the reality. The poor teachers can't sustain this model year after year. We've looked at the job boards at like Region 12 and really across the state. There's hundreds and thousands of jobs available across the state. But what does that tell you? People are burned out. They don't want to work in education. Too hard. You know, it's been a rough year on a lot of people, but we got a lot of good folks hanging in there, and the kids. You know, we focus on the handful that didn't do what they're supposed to do, but think about all the ones that did do what they're supposed to do. We got lots of great kids. We had a good prom Saturday night. We saw lots of good kids. Calvin had on his purple suit. So we had a lot of good stuff going on, and a lot of kids worked hard despite all the, you know, the weirdness of the year. So I want to end on a bright note too.
Good. Any questions about COVID? Okay.
Been a tough year.
Pardon?
Been a tough year.
Yeah,
Sure
that's
has.
for everybody. So review of policy, student discipline, and corporal punishment.
Yes, the last one here, the last information item was at the request of the board. I don't think there was anything controversial that brought this up. It was more just curiosity, I think, from your standpoint. We do have corporal punishment. It's still in the books. It's FO local, so we attached that there. And those are the guidelines of what you should do in order to do it properly. You've got to be careful We can do corporal punishment that, one that, we like to have the parents on board. The parents can't say, don't spank my child, and then we go and do it. You've got to make sure you've got a witness with you. You've got to make sure that you administer it just right, because a lot of things can go haywire, and it does, it's a little bit of a risk for the administrator, because that's one of the things where our liability, educators have some liability in two big areas: spanking and putting a student in your car. Those are the two areas where the law doesn't protect you much. And so we've got to be very careful in those two areas. And y'all were asking, how often is it used? We haven't really used it much this year. We've paddled the last couple of years. The elementary campus paddled 2 this year, about 5 to 7 last year. Primary paddled 1 this year. So predominantly it's used at the lower level, probably with your own children. That's about the age group you were still spanking them, and then when they get a certain age, you probably stop and do different things, timeouts and whatnot. But that's kind of the lowdown on the policy and the practice. Did y'all have any other questions about it?
Is there a form that's signed by the parent giving permission to enforce corporal punishment or not to enforce it?
I think before it were to happen, they make a phone call too, because they want to make sure, I think even if you've signed something, that they're talking on the phone, that you're still good with this, right? Because they've got to make sure that, they've decided that they've recanted or said, no, we don't want you to do it.
Okay, but there is a form that they sign?
There should be, I believe so.
Okay.
We have some audience questions. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's a comment. I would think that having the parents sign a form.
Sure.
That protects you.
Yes.
Because you have something in writing.
Right.
So if they change their mind, even after they give the verbal consent, you still have that.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Sure. Yeah.
So why don't you put that out first year and let's sign it?
It is.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
It
in,
is?
it's in the.
Well, why don't we do more of it?
Yeah, no kidding.
Because I've had my share of them.
Yeah.
And that's the problem up here.
Well,
That's
the problem is the parents, the ones that they say are the very ones gonna complain when you do it.
Well, if they
I
sign,
do.
if they sign it.
Now, I get what you said, we do need it, trust me, yeah.
Don't be scared of them.
Yeah.
We're here to teach, not baby them. And the same thing back to what you're saying a while ago. We're not gonna beg them. Why are you gonna beg them to go try to pass? If they're not gonna, they didn't do that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Let's teach up here.
Yeah.
If they don't want to teach, they're not gonna learn anyway. Let's quit wasting your time. Let's take care of the teachers and the kids that wanna be here and let it roll. There's a lot of wasted time up here.
Any other questions?
I think it's a good tool because, well, back in my day, I'm old school, but they used to always give the kids a chance to go to ISS or take SWATs, not I'm going to equip you. So they had the option, but it keeps them in the classroom, and it's a good form of, it gets their attention, I think. So I think we've gotten away from that personally.
Yeah.
But
And I don't want to get off point too much, but correct me if I'm wrong. The way I understand it, if a student has a cell phone at school and violates the cell phone policy, and the phone's taken up from them, they're charged money to get that phone back. Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
But if they just are disrupting class or something, they get sent to ISS and no money's involved, or they may get a SWAT or something.
Right.
I've always wondered, why do we, I'm just looking for, with what I understand from a few meetings ago, is we've got a fairly high percentage of indigent students, poor students.
Sure.
To me, they may have that phone, which kind of makes it, you wonder where they get the money if they're poor.
Right.
But how do they afford to get their phone back? And some other kid that's got, some parents that's got some money, that's not a problem.
Right.
And that punishment doesn't fit the crime to me. but a SWAT or ISS or something would if it was consistent for violations of any sort, disciplinary or phone violations or whatever. I'm just kind of curious, why do we have a two-tier, two different opposed forms of punishment? Or discipline, whatever we want to call it, you know?
Or we could start charging them when they go to ISS and I can pocket the money.
There you go.
I think that'd be a good deal.
If I get half of it, I'll make the motion.
Your
All right,
parents might
we'll
be
split it.
better at taking care of
We'll
their
split it
kids
half
if
and
they
half,
have to
Jimmy.
pay.
Yeah.
I just kind of wonder about the money. What,
I think
That
that
always
if there's
strikes
a
me as odd.
hardship, a lot of times they work out of maybe even a payout plan.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, I gotta have $10 right now. You
Right.
pay me a couple of weeks or whatever, and we
Right.
hold that over
I guess I just got,
wage or whatever.
got an issue with charging kids money. I mean, why don't we, to be blunt, why don't we bust their butt instead of get money from them? I mean, I guess that's, if we have this policy,
Well, now, we adopted a cell phone policy last meeting.
We reviewed what all was in place and what's looming, yes. The big thing is we're kind of needing a reset. COVID messed up a lot of things. And so the other good thing at the high school, especially with the new building, a new focus on just some real basic things like putting your cell phone away, all the just basic discipline. I think that's going to be a lot better because there's been so much unusual things. Like if you're a hybrid student at the high school, they're coming and going, and it's one of those things where it's hard to manage a lot of that. So I'm thinking next year is going to be a lot better. But yeah, it's something where we've got to have a clear expectation and consistent enforcement of it for sure.
so what if a kid just, okay, I pay you $10, but I'm just not gonna pay you the rest of it? Because I'm not going home to my dad and say, give me $10 more, because my dad will whale the daylights out of me, you know? I mean,
So,
what
what'd
if
you
I
s-
don't pay?
After you've done it once already?
No, the cell phone thing, you took I was using my phone.
Yeah.
So you took it away and you're charging me $20. He said I can pay him 10 now and 10 later. I don't have another 10.
Then you don't get your phone.
So
Are we really confiscating that many phones? I never get complaints of kids without phones.
No, and we've not really had a way where we've not run into that, Jimmy. Maybe we've just been fortunate where they have been able to find a way, like Charles said, to either pay out
Yeah.
slowly or something. There's not been a situation where they just were so destitute that they're like, well, I'll never get my phone back.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want to keep the phone forever and eternity either. We want to
Yeah.
get it back in their hands, get it put away, but so we would work with
That's
it.
what I mean. I don't want to get way off point on
Right,
this
right.
thing. It looks inconsistent to me that for every other thing, every other violation of discipline in the classroom, we have an option. But for cell phone problems, we've got this special
Mhm.
revenue raiser.
Yeah.
And that just looks like,
It is
Playing games.
it is common amongst districts, though. It is
Okay.
something that's very common. But yeah, it is a little bit unusual. There's a monetary thing associated with that. Yeah.
so what do we do with the money?
It goes into the student activity accounts, I believe. So it goes back to kids. It doesn't go into something adult related.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're told,
We used to use
I
it
mean, that's
for-
part of the first of the year. They're told not to,
Yeah.
you know,
We used
if
to
your
use that
teacher
money
says put
for
it.
snacks for STAR test or
Yeah.
Okay.
attendance incentives or, money that goes back to the kid. Like, you can't use that money in any other way than it going back to a student.
We can't use it for the baseball scoreboard?
We just solved our problem.
There you go.
Any more questions? Okay, we're gonna move on to the action items. Mr. Webb.
Shane's got instructional materials allotment, antique certification.
All right. Good evening. Well, this right here is just a requirement that, that each school district has to do annually. And basically what this is, and the form is different, Ms. Lee, that's why you guys don't have these signature pages this time. TEA has changed up the submission requirements on this. But all this is just, it says districts are required to certify annually to the State Board of Education and to the Commissioner that for each subject in the required curriculum, other than PE, that students have access to instructional materials that cover all of the TEKS, so all of our skills. And so this is just approving the certification form that our district, our instructional materials allotment, the money that we use to purchase materials, is used for only expenses allowed by Texas Education Code for the current year, and we have all the materials to cover all of our courses. So, does anybody have any questions about this? Just something we have to do annually every single year, and we're up for IMA renewal this year. I don't know when we'll get the funds, if it'll be July or September, but we should get our new amount of funds this summer sometime.
You want to read that recommendation?
I will. I recommend that the board certify the instructional materials allotment and TEKS certification forms so that may be submitted to TEA.
Thank you. Is there a motion for that recommendation? Cheyenne? Second, Linda? Any more questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Thank you. Okay, now you're going to tell us about high school furniture.
Hey, you guys are going to start giving me a hard time again. I'm asking for money again. Ms. Maxwell knows. Well, you guys know that we came last month to talk about high school furniture for the new construction areas. So all the new classrooms, the new cafeteria, the new library. And we've been really wanting to see what we can do to outfit the entire school. And so when I came to you last month, it didn't have the existing classrooms that we have remaining in the building. And so we've been looking at with Mr. Frazier and just kind of see if do we have the funding, the finances available to go ahead and make some go ahead and purchase that. I know Mr. Harper's going to talk to you guys here about some other things. But we're looking at wanting to outfit the entire school with new furniture. The furniture's kind of been there a long time, been there a while. And so that way everyone feels that they were touched in some manner. I have attached there the quote and kind of some of the which classrooms it would go in, but the cost is about $146,000 to outfit the remaining parts of that building. So this would be for, you know, classrooms, CTE classrooms, the art room. I'm trying to think of one. I think that's about it. That would be it. But
We've already heard teachers saying, well, we hope to get a new room. I hope we're not stuck in the old room with the old furniture and the old paint, the old floor and the old, you know what I'm saying? So we're trying to make the part that is a little bit older have some newer things too. So.
Dr. Powell, may I ask a question?
yes, sir.
Who's going to be going into the new room? Is there a fight between the teachers?
Well, yes, Ms. Barrows, the high school principal, has been looking at that. We're trying to get it to where all the English teachers are in the same area, all the math teachers in the same area. You know, right now, just because of over the years, people like their rooms, they're kind of just spread out around. So we're trying to get it more departmentalized. And so, yeah, I mean,
And each area has a collaboration room so that they're together and they can meet together in the collaboration room, do their planning together and prepare.
I think after looking at it, just about most core areas may have a new room, but you can't give everybody a new room. So.
At least give them some new furniture.
That's right. At least give them some new furniture, maybe some new floors, some new paint, things like that. So.
Are we going to try to sell the old furniture, or what are we going to do with it?
Honestly, we'll probably some of it's not very good. We'll try to keep the rest of the furniture that's good till we can outfit if we need to move any furniture to junior high or intermediate, because this furniture does break. I mean, there's times where when I was at the high school, I'd have to take desks down to the welding department to weld a chair back or weld, you know, and so that would last a little bit. But you know, when it just breaks, it just breaks, and you gotta throw it away. But we'll probably look at keeping the good stuff. So I don't know if we hadn't really talked about selling it, but we'll probably keep the good stuff. That way, when we're needing furniture for junior high, when desks are breaking, we're not having to go buy new ones.
More questions?
Any other questions?
Mr. Frazier says the money's there.
Mr. Frazier?
This will represent the first budget amendment out of fund balance.
That's a yes.
Yes.
So what
The
Daryl,
money's-
It's a money in.
well, so Daryl clarified that a little
The
bit. So what,
$500,000 that you committed for capital acquisition out of fund balance, that's where that's coming from.
Okay.
and also there is the possibility that once the project is over, there may still be some left in contingency, right, Daryl?
Possibly.
So that's the risk.
It's hard to tell,
Yeah.
but it's possible.
We don't want to just say, well, it'll be left over in contingency. That's too risky. So we're going to go ahead and make sure it's accounted for. But the flip side is right now there's over
300,000.
over 300,000 still in the contingency. So we'll see. Now they're slowly eating away at it. They have been for months, but we've hung between 400,000 and 300,000 for quite some time. But we felt like now's the time to do it if we're going to do it.
Yeah, because if we're gonna do it, we need to go ahead and get the furniture on order so it can go ahead and be delivered. We're looking at a delivery date at the end of June.
So you can make the motion.
Make the motion. This district admin team recommends the board of trustees to approve the $145,778 to purchase new furniture for the remaining high school classrooms from Indigo Sales.
Is there a motion? Linda? Is there a
I
second?
second.
Charles? Any more questions for Shane?
Where, is this money coming out of the surplus budget, or is it coming out of money that's? It's gonna come out of the fund balance that you set aside for capital acquisitions. But we've set this aside.
Yes.
It's not part of this year. Our savings, or whatever you wanna call it. Because
No,
is that
no.
part of that? Rental fund is too close to call right now to be able to charge it for that.
This is the 500,000 we set aside this year for capital projects.
Okay.
So
So
it's
it's
there.
been set aside, it's not coming out.
We were trying not to spend any of it,
Okay.
but this high school project is just one of those things where when it gets towards the end, we kind of, another thing we talked about during the bond, we always said, well, if we had any money left over, we would try to have consistent flooring and paint and furniture as well, but Scott's about to talk about the paint and flooring part.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. None opposed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dennis.
Mr. Webb. Mr. Harper.
We're tag team, and Toby's gonna come up and
Okay.
present.
Yes, and Toby, okay.
So it kind of goes in line with what Shane was saying, we're wanting to, do something to the hallways to make them look, like the rest of the new building. It doesn't make sense to, build a new high school and then you still go off this one hallway that's, gonna look like it did back in '96, so. It's just gonna be ceiling, floors, paint, just some basic stuff to make it, make it look like the rest of the building when it's all said and done. We did some quoting on it, all of it came in, the floor is probably the most expensive at $43,000. Mainly because it's the type of floor, all the quotes that we got in were, there's LVT and then there's this Forbo product. Well, the Forbo product you have to be certified to install it, and that's, of all the places we put that flooring in, it's the best stuff, that's what you want to put down. Anything else you put down is just not going to last, and that, how we want things to last around here, we need to get 50 years out of it anyway.
At least.
So that's why that's such an expense, because it requires certified installation. That's something my guys can't put down. You have to go get certified for. And then you come into the ceiling grid. That's, most of the ceiling grid we've got is 2x4. We're going with 2x2 through the new building, so that's kind of what they, it just looks better, so that's, we want to touch that too. And then you get into the painting. The painting kind of went to Burns Construction just because of the timeline. They told me they could do that in 2 weeks. Everybody else is saying 3 to 4. 3 to 4 just doesn't fit our window of time that we need to get it done.
So we set a window with Masonic for those first three weeks, starting on the 24th of May. As soon as school is out, they graduate on Friday the 21st. The 24th, we're getting in and touching the other part of the building. So the transition walls will come down, they're gonna start connecting the old to the new. And so we wanna hurry up and get that connected while the crews are still working with Masonic. They're still here to do the flooring. So the flooring is kind of going through Masonic because that same crew, same material, they're licensed to do it, they can come in and take care of it. And the flooring and ceiling and walls have to be done in a certain order so that you don't mess up somebody else's work and make sure it gets done right. So we've given them that window, and so when we put out the quotes, you have to guarantee that it'll be done in this window. And so that's one of the reasons why these were selected, price and making sure we could get it done in the window.
So if they don't get it done in that window, it's a penalty
Yes.
on them?
We take their cell phone away.
And it's charged to get it back.
Well, we might try spanking them too.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are pretty big, I don't know.
So this is gonna be what you had told or said before,
You
that
know,
it's gonna look.
we'd always talked when we were still going after the bond election, we always said if we had money left over, we would sure try to have consistent flooring. And Daryl and I walked one area that had 4 different types of flooring in a span of about 12 feet. It was aqua blue, lime green, yellow, and then gray, and it looked awful. You can't have, I mean, we're gonna have this $20 million renovation, and then it's gonna look terrible at the end of the hallway. And so,
That was right in front of the auditorium.
yeah, 4 different types of flooring.
High school's been added on to several times over the years, and it never has really been, took a paintbrush to the whole thing and tried to get it all the same. So, figured this would be the time to do it, or, as much of the buildings they demoed out, it makes sense to go ahead and try to get it all looking the same. Y'all have any questions, or?
Anybody?
Where, again, I'm concerned with the funding of it.
Yeah.
Now, is this gonna eventually come out of the, I call it general fund or whatever? Or is it still in the bond issue or our surplus money we were talking about?
Syntex flooring is gonna be worked into
The building
the contract now with Masonic.
Okay.
That's part of that contingency that's left.
You know, that was one of the things I said before we started this bond, is this gonna be enough money
Yeah.
to do the whole thing? If it's not, I wanna do it now, and I don't wanna be coming out of the general fund later.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Right.
And yeah, I'm all for it, but is it in the budget?
Like Daryl said,
General fund.
yeah, the biggest piece of it, the 43,588, we went ahead and allocated to the contingency that's already been, that's part of the money.
Okay.
And those other 2, I'm gonna find funds in my budget probably to take care of those, so.
Okay.
Did I hear that right?
Or there might be a second amendment to the.
Cheyenne?
Each campus, we're on the 5-year plan for each campus having updates. Does does this
Like-
factor into that budget? You know, like.
Paint and.
Yes, every
That
year
doesn't,
somebody.
I mean, this doesn't really impact that.
But most of that usually, that's something I budget for in my
Okay.
budget, so it's, it's not anything that this would be tied to.
Okay. Because I think that's important.
Yes, yeah. So
Any more questions?
Okay.
So my recommendation is to approve the high school renovations and corridors projects and approve the aforementioned contractors for the project.
Okay, is there a motion? Jimmy? Second, Calvin? Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tommy.
David.
Thank you, Scott. And you're back, Scott. Substance abuse policy.
Every year we bring this before the board after we review it, so if there's any changes, if we want to expand the scope of it. And there weren't any make changes recommended for this coming school year. So we were going to keep the same substance abuse policy in effect. The one for the 2021 school year will be the same for the 21-22 school year. On a full year, it doesn't go over $20,000, so that's why the budget amount is put in there 20, but it hasn't gone over that yet. And so in this past messed up year, we didn't test as many students as we had done in the beginning. Some of the problems is that you have a random test and you go get a kid out of class and they have to perform the test right then, so you have them right at hand. But if they're hybrid or remote learners, you can't surprise them with a random test. So when the random list was generated, kept confidential, they didn't know until the day of the test, and then it's like, oh, that kid's not here. So we would have to contact them, call them and say, you have to get up here for the next test. We'd have to reschedule. So a lot of that was just a continuation of the first random testing. We didn't think it was fair to come up on a random test and have a card to get out of it free. So I'm remote learning, I don't have to test. The downside is that you were aware of it. But if you were doing something you weren't supposed to, if it's in your system, it's in your system. And so that was one thing different about this year, why we didn't test as many, because we were chasing students and to get them to come up and test for us. And so that's why the numbers are off from the years past. But this year we tested 353 students and had 8 positive. And last year, the last full year, we tested over 1,000 and had 15 positives. And so our percentage rate is for this last year 2.3%, when before it was 1.5%. And but the recommendation is to approve the Gatesville ISD substance abuse policy as presented for next school year.
Is there a motion for that policy? Charlie, second? Jimmy, any more questions for
My question,
Mr. Harper?
what were they tested positive for?
THC.
And the other thing is, if they refuse to test,
Right, they refuse, they tamper with, and we would tell the parent, you have to come up for the remote learners. If you don't come up, that's an avoidance of the test, and all that's treated as a positive. And so they would receive the same suspension or consequences as if they came back with a positive test.
What about those remote learners, then? If they, what kind of consequence could they have?
The suspension of whatever the next performances and things that they would have. A lot of, the hybrid students, a lot of them were coming in for athletics. The only way we can test them is if they participate in extracurricular, co-curricular. Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Harper.
You're welcome.
And you're going to stay up there for some bids, or the...
Yes, we had some surplus items that went out for
that
bid.
were bid.
And so everything on the list received the bid and was sold except for the portable building. That's the one where the termites are holding hands, keeping it together. And so we're trying to deal, we talked about the restroom earlier, we're trying to work that in the deal with the portable building guys to say, hey, we've got a building we can swap out, we can come down on the price and you can have this 1984 model and use it in your business. But we're trying to use that to maybe get some restrooms out at the baseball field. If we can't get that, maybe we can plumb it and use it for restrooms. It's got enough space for it, but those are just options that we're going to look for. But everything else on the bid sheet was sold, and so that's the list that you have with you. Who it went to and for how much. The total we received was for $2,366. That's a misprint. $2,364.33. This money's going back into the general fund, and any items not sold will remain in inventory. The ones that are sold will be taken out of inventory.
What's the total cost?
it's 2,364.
64, right, and
Okay.
33 cents.
Okay.
He had an extra 6 in there.
Yeah.
So we made, in other words, we made a little bit of money off some really old stuff.
Stuff that we just wanted to go away. It's been sitting there for a very long time, and so we just wanted it gone. So the recommendation is to award these bids and remove the purchase items from the inventory.
Is there a motion to accept these bids? Jimmy, second. Cheyenne, any questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Charlie is stepped out for a minute. Okay,
Thank you very much.
Motion carries. Food Service Management Company bids. Mr. Frazier.
I have a handout for you. I'd like to go ahead and offer the guest opportunity to talk.
Oh, yes, yeah. Alan, you want to come on up and speak?
First of all, I would like to thank the board, the superintendent, and Gatesville ISD administration team. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight and speak. I know in front of you, you will be making a decision tonight on who you award the Child Nutrition Program to for the next 5 years. I would like you to consider us as Sodexo to be your partner. I know what we're offering you is different than what it has been in the past. There's a lot of things that have changed over the last year. We was fortunate last year due to the superintendent, principals, Mr. Frazier, and Gail to implement the dinner program, which has had a significant impact on the students, but also the community. Along with the new high school opening, we believe between those two programs, it's going to have a positive impact on the 240 fund, which it hasn't had in the past. Now, our offer does reflect that, but I also would say what we're offering is not going to affect the staff, recognizing the staff, the students, or the promotions that we bring forth, or how we support the community. So I want you to consider that, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. We've had a long-standing relationship with Alan Collins. He's, I guess, the biggest wig in Sodexo in the state of Texas. Now lives in Liberty Hill. But he's been a great friend of ours through these past 7 years that we've been with Sodexo. We operate, of course, according to the Department of Agriculture, and they have been getting some pretty strong mandates from the USDA, the feds, as a result of a 2018 audit. And so now they're coming down extremely hard on all of us, school districts across the state of Texas. And it seems especially so for those who have elected to use a food service management company to operate their child nutrition program like we have. Prior to 2014, the school district was called self-op. In other words, we operated our own food service program. And the losses were beginning to escalate, and we're approaching $300,000 a year. That year, which was 2013-2014, fiscal 2014, the brakes were put on in terms of the personnel, and there was a number of cutbacks in personnel in the cafeteria program. And that was a year also that we decided to go with a food service management company. So the year 13-14 saw a pretty dramatic reduction in our loss due to those personnel cuts and the fact that Sodexo, which won the bid at that time, came in and bought a significant amount of our inventory, which funds came into this fiscal 2013-14. So I think I've shown you that chart before with the losses and then the production and whatnot. So that first year reduction was 13-14. And then beginning in July 1 of 14 is when we began our relationship with Sodexo. We had 2 years, and then TDA forced us to go back and rebid due to some anomalies in what they considered to be the scoring rubric for the evaluation of the bids, and they basically forced everybody to go back and rebid. So we rebid 2 years later, and then that one was a 5-year bid. Sodexo won that bid, and there was no other bidders in that particular year. So we've been with Sodexo now the first 2 years, and then a 5-year contract which expires June 30th this year. So each year we've operated under an annual renewal, and all those renewals have to be approved by TDA. And to give you a little background, TDA this year has really gotten much tougher, like I say, for the school districts like us who operate food service management companies. You can speak to other food departments of other school districts that are in our boat and CFOs that I've talked to across the state, and it's been a horrendous year. What they have put us through is just miserable. A number of audits, one just back to back after another, changing the rules of the game, moving the goalposts, and it's just been a very difficult year for business managers, CFOs, and food service departments. We operate, like I say, under the auspices of the Department of Ag, and we have to go by their regulations and their guidance. So they're very strict in terms of how you engage a food service management company
how you even go about submitting bids and how you go about reviewing those bids. It is mandatory that those bids be reviewed with cost being the number one factor. Cost. And in fact, I got another email today from TDA reminding me that remember that cost is your number one decision, because they knew I was coming to the board tonight. And if it's not cost, then you better have a darn good reason why you didn't pick the lowest bidder. So they grill that into us. So what I've given you tonight is a sheet that's a review of the two bids that we received. One, Sodexo, requesting our renewal, and the other one is Southwest. Southwest is a company out of Arizona. They actually, I believe, have the largest market share of school districts in the state of Texas. They have more school districts. They have twice as many school districts under their belt in Texas as Sodexo. So they're a significant force in food service management companies in the state of Texas. Sodexo is a much larger company. They're French. Don't hold that against them. French are good people. I still can't believe Alan had to learn French. No. But Sodexo is a French company. It's a huge conglomerate. So there's not even any comparison when you look at a balance sheet or something. I reviewed their audit report, Sodexo's audit report, which was done by KPMG, my old employer, by the way. And it was 350 some pages of information and charts and whatnot. So it's a big company. They took a pretty good whammy during COVID-19 in 2020. Many of their employees are in France, and they did a reduction of force in France, 7%. So there was thousands of people that were laid off in France itself as a result of COVID. So, you know, I guess most companies have taken a hit during the COVID. And the question is, will they survive? So the audit said that they had no concerns for it being a going concern. Also reviewed the Southwest audit report through December 31 of 2020. And it also was an audit report. It's a much smaller company than Sodexo, but they seem to be solid and able to carry forth the promises they make in their proposals. So let's look at the two proposals, Sodexo and Southwest. So I've given you three columns on this sheet. The first column is this current fiscal year, and that's our budget in the food service program. So currently in 21, we have projected a gain of $61,000. That's what our budget's based on. Sodexo has projected a net profit in fiscal 22 of $166,000 roughly. And Southwest has come in, and their projection is that the school district will make $206,000. Here is a kind of comparison of what each one of them has given to us. The proposed first-year investment under our current agreement with Sodexo was originally $35,000, and Sodexo is proposing to do another $35,000 investment for this 5-year contract. Actually, a 1-year contract renewable for 4 years. Southwest had kicked in an additional $24,000, bringing their first-year investment to $59,000. So their first-year investment was higher. Then there's a matter of guarantee. Our current guarantee from Sodexo that we've been operating on for the last 5 years, and I don't know, that might go back 7 years. It may actually go back 7 years, because I don't think they changed the way they did their guarantee after that second year. So the current guarantee with Sodexo was they're going to guarantee $75,000, but only if our losses exceed $166,000. So the district was responsible for the first $166,000 losses, and the next dollar would have been Sodexo. Sodexo has never had to invoke their guarantee throughout the 7 years. We've never reached that kind of a loss. The guarantee from Sodexo going forward is $80,000, and that's irrespective of the amount of loss. So it's a flat guarantee of $80,000 toward that $165,000 that they're projecting they will make. So that's an improvement Sodexo has made in terms of the guarantee. Southwest has done a step more. They've gone up to $100,000 on their guarantee. Then you got to look at meal rates. Currently, we're on a fixed meal rate with Sodexo. All meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, a la carte, they all charge us the same amount. And that rate is $1.9727. That's our current rate. Sodexo is proposing a blended rate based on different types of meals. So breakfast, they're proposing $1.75. On lunch, they're proposing $1.88. On dinner, they're proposing $2.05. A la carte, $1.88, for what I call a blended rate of $1.88, the effective blended rate. Southwest is proposing $1.70 across the board for all meal types, breakfast, lunch, dinner, a la carte, so their blended rate is $1.70. Sodexo's proposed rate is 95.4% of the current rate. So they're actually reducing their current rate down 5%. Southwest's proposed rate is 86.29% from our current rates, which is about 10% under the amount that Sodexo is proposing. I've taken the, Sodexo has put together a projection that's a little more aggressive than what Southwest did. Southwest is a little bit more conservative in terms of their number projections, in terms of how many meals that we will actually be serving in the fiscal year 2022. So I took the more conservative approach that Southwest used in terms of the number of meals, which is 495,153. You see that number there on the sheet. Sodexo was projecting 517,134. Current of this year, it looks like we'll be doing 390,000. So obviously, we're hoping for a much better year next year when things get back to normal. If you take that projected meals times their proposed rates, and you subtract their guarantee, in effect, like, okay, this is kind of a good cost comparison between the two proposals. Sodexo is at $848,316, and Southwest is at $718,849. So that is, between $100,000 and $150,000 difference between the two quotes. It's a significant difference. It's not something that TDA is going to allow us to overlook. The proposed review scoring, we had 10 different criteria that were used, and I used Emily Coward, one of my assistants that works directly with food service. She's been through thick or thin all these months and throughout all these audits, working with myself and Gail, satisfying TDA. She was one of my reviewers, and then her counterpart previously was Joyce Blanchard, who's now a payroll supervisor, and she was in Emily's position previously, and she's been through, Joyce was through the first two bids that we did back in 2014 and 2016. So she's been through the process, and she's worked in the food program alongside with Gail and myself. So both of these ladies were very influential, and to me have a lot of expertise in being able to review these bids. They took both books, they were big books, and they reviewed them independently. They came up with the scores, and then the composite score that we as a group gave to these two companies was 83 points to Sodexo and 96 points to Southwest. As a result, that would mean that Southwest would be the winning bidder. I have the projected total meals. I know there was a concern back 7 years ago about Gail, and that was actually one of the criteria there. Does the company offer to hire Gail, and both companies are still in the yes. She would have to be released from Sodexo, and Alan would probably have a lot to do with that, because she would be eligible to be our manager with Southwest as well. And they're willing and anxious to talk to her about that possibility. Also, I have here the number of school districts that both of these companies are serving in the state of Texas. Sodexo is at 28, Southwest is at 63. Some of the area schools that you probably are more familiar with: Waco ISD, China Spring, Robinson, Connolly, Liberty Hill, and Taylor are currently with Sodexo. Southwest has Mahia, Brownwood, Leander, Bastrop, Georgetown, and Gerald. Since we're well familiar with these districts that have Sodexo and not so much the ones that have Southwest, I've made it a point to call nearly all of these and additional school districts, such as like Prosper up in the Dallas area, who is a customer of Southwest, and Grand Prairie is also a customer of Southwest. They all had great things to say. We're happy with their Southwest services that they received, and so they did get very good kudos from all their references that we checked out. So this is a tough call. I was at the beginning of all of this back in 2014 when I helped get you guys onto this. I've been a great supporter of Sodexo all these many years, but the fact remains that after 7 years with Sodexo, the school district has lost about $500,000 in Fund 240, and at no time on any of the years have we actually made money. Southwest is aggressively pursuing this account, and they really feel that they can make a difference in pushing us back in the black for good and never go back to losses in our food service program. Obviously, the cost is going to be a significant factor in getting us there. And so a $100,000 to $150,000 reduction in the cost, that's a significant move in the right direction to get us back to a profitable operation. We have not been profitable in Fund 240 in 20 years. And so that's just the facts. So I appreciate Alan and Sodexo and all they have done. They worked hard. There was a lot of excitement back in 2014, as some of you might recall. When we first went with them, they wowed us. They courted us heavily. And they did a wonderful job of gaining our business at that time. The only other two companies that we looked at that bid was Aramark, who did not bid this time, and Southwest, who did bid back in those days. So the process is this. You can grant a decision tonight to go with the recommendation of Southwest, subject to, let me put it that way, subject to, because you cannot give formal final approval tonight. That's TDA rule. And they confirmed that again with me today. So the board cannot make a final decision tonight. What I have to do is we have to submit the proposal from the winning bidder and our review logs that we constructed and came up with these scores. And then they will sit on it and they will decide yes or no. We will, we approve, let's say, the Southwest contract. And at that point, we'll have to come back, call a special meeting of the board, and then approve officially, official board approval for the Sodexo contract. It's on a very short time frame, because then we have to resubmit everything even before it's signed. So there's so many hoops that they're forcing us through this time around that making it quite difficult. But I was originally under the impression that you could make a decision tonight and it's final, and then we submit it to them. But they're saying no. You can maybe make a decision subject to the approval from TDA. But this is certainly not a decision that I want to take on by myself as your CFO. And I desperately need your consent to go this route and to award the contract to Southwest, especially in view of a long-standing relationship with Sodexo. As far as the food service company management, that's, I mean, as far as the manager, Gail, that's undecided at this point in terms of what will happen. She has an opportunity. She can stay with Sodexo. If Sodexo releases her, there's a chance that she will get hired on by Southwest. She could eventually come back to the school district. She can move on to higher and greater things with Sodexo. So there's many options for Gail. As I talked with Southwest today about Gail, I couldn't say enough good things about her because she has been a trooper. She's been with our school district 27 years, 28 years? 29 years. And she's like an icon in our school district, in the food service. She's always taken on every task that we've given her with enthusiasm, diligence, never complaining, and has given it her all. She's recruited a super staff of campus managers and cafeteria workers, and they all respect her a lot. She demands and gets back from them a lot of effort as well. So I just want to thank Gail because she stepped up back in 2014 and realizing that our food service program was floundering, and she knew we could do better. And she had to move on to another level, and Sodexo helped get her there. And they trained her well. They gave her a lot of expertise and a lot of training. She had a lot of good people that were backing her up. And quite frankly, she did rise to the occasion and did a wonderful job. We're at another crossroads now where we've got to take it another level. And I think Southwest can do that. Sodexo probably could have done it, but unfortunately they lost this bid. That's just the way it is. And so maybe they'll learn, maybe we'll all learn. But these are the hard facts. And I know what the Department of Ag is going to accept from us and what they're not going to accept. And with this big of a cost differential, there's no way that I can go in there, the Department of Ag, and recommend anybody but Southwest. Okay? Any questions?
So you're saying to this is a done deal?
No.
Oh, do we have a voice in this?
No, it's not a done deal.
It sounds to me like we have to vote for Southwest and to get you off the hook. And are we voting on something on this?
Yeah.
What are we voting on? For Southwest?
We're gonna decide which one.
With the provision that it's approved by TEA.
With the provision that it's approved by. And what you're telling us is if we was Sodexo, they wouldn't approve it.
Right.
Right.
We don't really have a choice. I mean, we have a choice, but we don't have a choice.
Based on what Daryl has heard from TDA. Yeah.
Can Alan say something?
This is something I would like you to consider. The commodities for $100,000 is in a number, so the difference I really don't believe is $107,000. You back the commodities out on your invoice on a monthly basis based on commodities we receive, we give you that credit. But it's in a fixed price number, but each month that number comes down. So when you're truly looking at, and you got to forgive me because I don't have my glasses on, give me 1 second to locate it. So when it shows a difference of, I apologize.
I should have had the other company up here. Sodexo is going to be allowed to talk to the board tonight. Because what he's telling you right now is false.
Honestly, I would not do that.
It's not true.
On a monthly basis, we bill you, and then we give you a credit for commodities.
Southwest will do the same thing.
Correct, but it's in our number, so the variance is showing 100+ thousand.
No, it's in both numbers.
Okay. Well, I'm just speaking on our number.
Yeah, I know it's in your number, but it's in their number as well.
Okay, and the difference from last year or previous years is the 90,000 dinner meals that we never experienced until this year. that's truly what's made the difference in the past.
You know, if it not been for the dinner program, we would have had some big losses in the last year and a half, especially during this COVID year for sure.
But our numbers reflected 100,000 higher. than
But
what it actually would have been.
so did Southwest, Alan.
I'm not denying that, sir.
Okay.
Is the dinner program supplemented by feds?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So why is there such a loss there?
Why is there such a loss?
If it's supplemented?
Maybe Sodexo has been overcharging us.
The dinner program is actually great.
Because the market value now, you can see from Southwest,
Oh,
It's probably-
we have a firm company that's willing to do it for $1.70 a meal. So that's 15% difference. That could be a
Is the
loss
dinner
right there.
program really popular?
in the bottom 3 campuses it is. The primary campus serves around 200 a day, and same with intermediate. Elementary is just a little under like $190, but 200 at the primary, 200 at intermediate.
And your conversations with the other school districts were that they are very pleased with the quality of the food?
Yes, sir.
Because when I was the principal at intermediate school, about 90% of it went into the trash can.
90% of
They
what?
would- They threw it all away, they wouldn't eat it,
Wouldn't eat what?
the food.
From which companies?
From anything that's got, you know, lots of frozen, reheated kind of stuff, the food was
Yeah,
pretty
Southwest is going to be different.
Okay. I'm not saying that the
Southwest
food,
is a lot from scratch.
that sounds good to
We
me.
do a lot of stretch.
Yeah. In fact, you know,
I'm
they
just
said that
telling you
our-
that the
our
garbage
cafeteria
can is
staff
so
are
full
gonna-
you can barely
gonna have
carry
to
it
work
out.
harder in the future because they're not going to be used to what they're going to be expected to do with Southwest.
They would eat French
So
fries.
they have a totally different, you know, approach to the meal preparation.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that,
Yeah.
because they're throwing away too much food.
You know, we're doing it more for the kids than anything, to be honest with you. But the problem is, as Southwest is really trying to emphasize, they want to get us back in the black in a significant way, to where we have fund balance that enables us to have the option to take on some new projects and maybe do some new furnishings in some of our kitchens that are really getting bad. So, you know, as long as your fund balance is 0, which is where it is today and has been for the last umpteen years, you don't have a whole lot of play in there. There's no play to be able to invest in anything better. And that's really, you know, as I looked through both of these proposals over the weekend, a lot of beautiful pictures, a lot of, you know, great things. Could be doing this, you could be doing that. But unfortunately, as long as we're losing money and 0 balance, you can't get there. Because you don't have the working capital to improve your program. And so that's the commitment I think the Southwest is, at this point, is really trying to make. The CEO of the company said today that Southwest wants this account. And these rates that they proposed, and that $100,000 plus the additional $24,000 the first year, is a very significant investment on the part of Southwest. It's nothing to sneeze at. Sodexo is a great company, and I don't have anything bad to say about Sodexo. We may be with Sodexo again someday. So you never know how these things go. If things don't go right our way the first year or two, we may decide we want to go back and rebid again.
So it's a
We
5-year?
may decide to go back to self-op.
It's a 1-year?
This is 1 year.
1 year, but 4 years. And
Renewable up to
optional
5 years.
renewable.
Yeah. 1 year with 4 annual renewables.
Okay.
But there's nothing to say that if we get into this and we really don't like it, that after year 1, we can say, hey, we don't like this. Well, it's not what we thought it was going to be, and we want to go back and rebid. So we can go back right through the rebid process just like we did this year and take another look. So it's not like you're stuck there forever. But, you know, today that seems to be by far the best choice for our school district.
Mr. Frazier, I think a while ago you said that there's a chance Southwest would hire Gail, a
Yes.
chance?
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
are you okay with the chance? So, that's not a guarantee.
Well, I mean, she has her employer sitting there right next to her. So, and it may not be something we should be talking about in open session,
Okay.
actually.
Madam President, would you, to expedite the process, would you invite a motion?
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, did you hear the recommendation?
I-
He hasn't made it yet.
Well,
Sort of
the
has.
okay,
Yes? That's up to you if you're ready to do a motion.
okay.
We,
So what
we
is
need
your,
your
motion?
recommendation.
the recommendation is to, hire or take the contract of the company we vote
Award the
on.
bid to Southwest, subject to the
Subject to.
approval of the Texas Department of Ag.
So moved.
It might take a week or 10 days to obtain that further approval.
You so move?
Yes.
Is there a second? Is there any more discussion?
Who seconded?
Charles
Alderson.
I mean, Alderson.
The subject that could be discussed in the executive, can we do that?
Yes.
Without voting right now? Can we table this vote till we vote on that? Or till we listen to that?
That's up to you guys.
Okay.
Motion has been made
And seconded.
and seconded.
I don't know if I can do a table right now, if we have to vote on it.
I don't know if that's gonna matter to the, I don't know if that's gonna matter
Yeah.
with the numbers. I mean,
I
I don't feel that we really have.
I think we're too far in now with the
Choice.
motions to back out.
Yeah.
So we need to vote.
I think you gotta go with the recommendation of your CEO.
What's your comment?
You've gotta support your business manager.
Yeah.
Any more questions, comments? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries.
No opposed, correct?
Pardon?
No opposed, correct?
Correct. And this is a 1-year contract.
Well, this isn't the final one,
It's subject to
Yeah, subject.
approval. Right.
Right.
So we can go ahead and
Right.
talk about that
Yes,
again and
yes.
wait till next time.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to have another session
Okay.
just for this.
Before next Thursday. It's due Thursday.
See, I don't know how long it's gonna take for TDA to give us the approval. I talked to Bester, ISD today, and they submitted theirs. They're going with Southwest. They submitted their paperwork to TDA last Tuesday, and they haven't heard back.
Well,
So, and of course, it all has to be done by May 10th, I think is the deadline.
So that would be before our next meeting.
It would be before
Yeah,
the next
we'd
meeting.
have to have a meeting.
what, doesn't it say the 30th here? Somewhere.
Well, they've extended the ones for bids, the ones for renewals have to be done by April 30.
Yeah.
But we're not renewing, we're
Oh,
actually
okay.
bidding.
Okay.
And they've extended that to, I think, May 10th, May.
That's the deadline for
May 10th,
submission.
somewhere in that
April
range.
30th.
Okay.
But
It's
the
before-
contract doesn't start till July 1st.
Right.
It's before the next regular meeting,
Well,
so we have to have a pizza night or something.
and does it have to be posted so ahead,
Yes, normally.
just like a
Just like
regular?
normal,
yeah. Okay.
Pay raises?
We're going, thank you, Mr. Frazier. You are up for approval of auxiliary, paraprofessional, and professional pay scales.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Last month, you approved the teacher scales for 21-22. And, you know, we were able to plan a fairly generous improvement to our teacher pay, which is long overdue. And especially we've attacked the first 10 years with an extra 1,000 on the scale from 0 to 10. And then it diminished $100 a year starting in year 11 down to year 20. So all the ones between 0 and 20 or 19 actually got a little extra bump. The full 1,000 was from step 0 to 10, and with a declining amount for the rest of them. That was a big step for you. And the total estimated cost that I gave you was $550,000. Not quite half of that represents normal step increases had we not even adjusted the scale. So those step increases would have cost the district around $250,000 anyway. So the full $550,000 was not as a result of the increased scale. It was the result of the increased scale plus the step increases. Okay. Now, a lot of our, especially in our paras and some of the professionals, they're actually linked to the teacher scales. And so when you raise one, then the other one gets raised too. So we have gone through as a management team and revised the auxiliary pay scale. That's the auxiliary includes cafeteria workers, bus drivers, custodians, and who am I leaving out? Maintenance.
Maintenance, yes.
Maintenance, yeah, there you go. And so they're included in the auxiliary. Their scales are not linked to the teacher scale. In all these cases, we have utilized the latest salary survey that is published by TASB, which would be for this school year. And that salary survey is done for every cotton picking, excuse me, not cotton picking. I was told not to use that word. Someone said that's racist. One of my students in high school one day when I said that. But we've done it for every single position and reviewed it in accordance with the survey from TASB. And what we've done is we've taken our scale for every position, and we've taken the scale from TASB for that position, and we've analyzed it as a scale. Sometimes they're higher in the beginning and lower in the end, and sometimes it's the other way around. But as a scale, we've compared them all, and then we have a benchmark number that we use and say, are we over or are we under market? What I call market. And professionals all across the board are by and large below market. You guys know the teachers are below market, especially in the first half of the scale. And principals, assistant principals, you can just name just about every single professional group that we have in the school district. And Gatesville is behind market, but we are a poor district. We're not property rich. This is Gatesville. This is not Liberty Hill. It's not Frisco. It's Gatesville. And so we have to recognize that we are Gatesville, and it is who we are. It's a great little town. Mrs. Miller came to my office today and was looking at my wall, those diplomas, and she said, golly, what are you doing in Gatesville? I said, I guess I wonder myself sometimes. But I said, this is a great little community. And I didn't come here with intentions of being here too very long, but I'm still here after all these years. And I love Gatesville. My wife loves Gatesville. So there's something special about Gatesville. And I think that's why so many of our people come back. And like teachers, they go out and get their degree. We don't pay near as much as they might get in Belgium or some of the other schools, but they come back to Gatesville because they want to be in Gatesville. So there's a big draw. So in analyzing that, we wanted to make sure that we could be as competitive as possible and stay within our budget. So what we put together is increase in all these scales for 21-22 that will cost about $350,000 in addition to the $550,000. That number is pretty evenly divided between the three groups. of pairs and auxiliary and professional. And it, of course, depends on where they fall in the scale. We have several that are switching jobs this year, going from assistant principal to principal, and so, you know, those guys are going to have a much larger increase than normal because they're switching positions and they're going to a higher paying position. So overall, the management team was pretty happy with the way that we were able to level the field. For instance, on the bus drivers, we notched that up a full buck. And as we know, especially on the drivers, how hard it is to get drivers. And so we were able to improve that. But we were able to improve pretty much all of the positions and get them pretty much in line with market. And so that's going to be a total tag of $900,000. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to put the skids to capital outlay projects next year. Got to. We've spent over $1 million in each of the last 2 years on capital projects, and we're not going to be able to do that this next year. This is what we want to do. Management wants to do this. We want to improve the compensation for our staff. They've been through a heck of a year, going through COVID. All these teachers that are, you know, that are doing 2 different types of modes of teaching. A lot of our janitors are working like a dog to do double cleaning that they didn't used to have to do. Just, you know, every position has had to take on an extra burden this past year, and we feel like we need to reward them. So I have the skills published here for you. These are the skills that would be that are approved by you, would be published on our website. So the first one there is auxiliary pay scale. We give you the job code, the description, the number of days they work in the year. And then this is typically how you post it, is a minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum. And we've done that for the auxiliary as well as the paraprofessionals and the professionals. So it's a lot of numbers.
How long does it take them to get to that maximum?
The maximum typically is the top of their scale.
So if I hired on
30,
today,
30 scale, 0 to 30.
So it
All
takes-
scales will have a 0 to 30,
Okay.
just like the teachers.
So it takes me a long time to get there,
Mm-hmm.
30 years.
But they may have prior experience too.
I got
You know, you got a bus driver that comes from another district, they have 10 years experience, they're gonna get credit for the 10 years of experience. Same is true of any of these paras, or any professional for that matter. But yeah, the minimum's typically the bottom of the scale, the mid is halfway in, and the max is the top end of the scale. So, like you say, the odds that if they're at the top end of the scale, they got 30 years of experience.
Joe, you want to make a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend, board, that you have the faith to launch out and grant our employees these pay scale increases for 21 and 22 in hopes that our school district will be able to manage this accordingly. We have every confidence in the world that next year it's going to look okay. Right now, the information coming from the state legislature in Austin is good as far as, you know, the school funding. And so we don't see, you know, any alarm bells in that direction. I think our enrollment is going to kick back up to normal levels. Attendance did improve, as you noticed on the vital signs this time. Our attendance did improve this past month, so that was an encouraging sign. That's my recommendation, is that you approve these 3 pay scales for 21 and 22.
Okay, is there a motion for that recommendation? I'll do it. Second?
Second.
Charles? Any more discussion or questions? Question?
Yeah, no, I just want to comment that he said earlier about how teachers, how hard the past year has been. It's been just as hard on all of these. They've all had to make a lot of changes more responsibility.
You know, it's like all the paras, they work, assisting classroom teachers.
Or even the bus
special ed,
driver. Look at all
bus
the
drivers.
differences they had to do on the bus.
They took a lot of risk. Some of them were too afraid to come to work,
Everyone.
but they came, and risked their personal
Yeah.
safety in a way.
Yeah, the cafeteria ladies.
Yes,
I mean, they all have.
all of them.
And they're very thankful to you for the raises. I hear a lot.
I mean, I can't thank our staff more for what all they've done. They've been really troopers. And I haven't heard much complaining. I know maybe Barrett has, but they've been very brave to get us through all this and patient. We're not going to be expecting them to do this forever. This has been one tough year, and we want to get past it. We want to reward them with a nice raise and move on hopefully next year to a smoother sailing and a normal kind of a life for all of us. I think we're all ready to get there, aren't we?
Yep.
I have one other question also. Y'all have looked at the campuses and agreed that there's nothing outstanding that needs to be taken care of next year.
You mean as far as their needs?
Yes.
Like some big project.
Right. Okay.
And in
Because
fact-
you said, we have to make sure we have the money.
One of the
Just to be
times
sure.
when those big projects happen is in the summer. This summer, Toby is totally covered up with getting all the high school teachers into those new rooms. So even if we wanted to do something, we can't.
Right.
No time.
Okay.
So.
Are there projects on the board? Yeah, sure. There's
No,
things we'd
what
like to
I
do.
meant was anything pressing that has to be
No.
done.
If there was something, he's got enough in his budget to cover it. What this means is no big,
Right,
yeah,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to clarify that.
sure.
Yeah, but we all know that our focus together next fiscal year is going to be the staff,
I agree.
not brick and mortar. It's going to be the staff.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion? None opposed, okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
School Board.
Frazier.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Darryl.
it. Is that my last one?
That's your last one?
Thank you, Mr. Frazier.
Now, our alternate attendance.
Yes, these last two will be quick. The first one is just, it's another little caveat due to COVID, but we had an alternative attendance taking time for just a small group of seniors who go off campus during third period. That's when we take attendance, but some of them have off that time. And so some seniors meet that qualification, they get off third period. There's 13 of them. And for those 13 kids, we take their official attendance at 11 a.m. And that's in our COVID plan. Laura Lamb, Lisa Haynes have looked this up. Per TEA, a local school board can approve that at any time during the year. So tonight I'm asking you guys to make it official that for the year, for those 13 seniors that have third period off, we took their attendance officially at 11, not during the normal, because they're off campus during the third period. So my recommendation is that you delegate the authority to me to follow the 11 a.m. attendance taking time for seniors with third period off for the entirety of this school year, and the next school year it's a moot point because they won't be able to take that period off.
I'll
Is
make
there
a
a motion?
motion.
Charlie, second Cheyenne. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thanks.
You bet. Last one was just a personnel update and one request. I feel like Shane Webb. One request for money. The first one, we want to give you an update. With Miss Barrows being promoted to lead principal, we needed to fill an assistant principal job at the high school. And then last time, the school board was gracious enough to give us to go ahead to get a little extra help at the administrative realm for Miss Venable at junior high while she recuperates. And so we formed two different committees. Mr. Webb led them up. We had external and internal applications, but they interviewed about 5 folks per campus and ranked them. And so Eric Herblin was selected as the AP at the junior high, and Liz Schoaf was selected as the AP at the high school. And both of those have been with us for quite some time, well known by the staff, liked by the staff. They should be very good administrators. And so we were pleased to select them, and they were excited. I think that the staff was excited too to get them in there, and they'll do well next year. The next thing in that kind of same realm of personnel was that, we've talked about how we have struggled with schooling this year, and the STAR test in general is we've had a lot of students that do poorly on the English. Not so much biology or algebra or U.S. history, but the English. You would think they would do better on that than, say, an algebra, but they struggle mightily with English 1 and English 2. And so for years we used to have a STAR kind of remediation class. We kind of got away from it. We feel like now, with the numbers the way they are just on sheer failures, that we need to have a course designed for kids that have a little bit of trouble passing, that if they do fail it, that they'll get a course designed directly to help tutor them and get them ready to take it again. And so we'd like to add an English 1, English 2 STAR kind of remediation reading intervention teacher at the high school. So that'd be one full-time English teaching position that we're asking for you guys to approve tonight. And Daryl, do you feel like we have the money to afford a new position? We typically allocate, 3 new positions?
I got total.
3 total. We used to do 1 per campus, and we thought that was overkill, 5 new, but we allocate 3. So this would be one of the 3 that we'd like to go ahead and pull the trigger on. If you feel comfortable approving that, then that would give Ms. Barrows to go ahead and start looking for an English teacher to help the kids that struggle.
Is it a full-time position?
Full-time position, yeah, and it'd be a full-blown, we'd need an English certified 9 through 12 teacher to teach it.
Is that mainly for writing skills?
Well, probably more heavily reading. They have trouble sometimes. Those test questions are tricky. They have them read passages, and it's difficult. And like I said before, you would think
strategies.
Yeah, strategies, and sometimes having someone dedicated specifically to it for kids that do struggle would be beneficial, we think. So that is the recommendation, is to approve the addition of 1 full-time English intervention teacher at the high school.
Okay, is there a motion? Linda, second?
I'll second.
Charles? Any more questions? All those.
Is it possible we might have a teacher somewhere else that you would not renew if they left to absorb this extra teacher?
Oh, like through attrition? It's possible. It's possible, but I don't want to say that for sure is how we can do it.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
They'll be happy. That's going to help the kids.
So now we will close our open session and begin our executive session in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Do you want us to go to your room or stay here?
We can go to mine if you want to.
We'll go back to his office.
So, Marianne, we'll take a little break.
Yeah, we'll take about a